All right, so welcome to Geometry. Today is April 30th. As always, make sure to have a pencil and paper for notes. And then if you do have any questions that I couldn't answer during this session, make sure to attend office hours. Those are on Wednesdays and Fridays from 2 to 3 p.m. So as always, in the chat box, check in, give me a stress check from a 0 to a 10. How are you feeling? Let me know. I would like to know. I'll go ahead and type it into my chat box, well, into the chat box as well. Okay.
Let's see.
I'm glad you're still in that green zone. And then what about you? Okay, you guys are matching today.
Yeah.
All right. When we're looking at our objectives for today, so students will review finding the area of quadrilateral. So last time we worked on finding the area, and then you'll also work on finding the area of a triangle. But first, we're going to review the do now. So for the do now, what transformation is represented by the figure? So remember that the ones that don't have the little apostrophe next to the letter, right? So look at, for example, B. This one does not have an apostrophe, but this one does. So let me show you. Oops, that's the wrong pen. There it is. Okay. So this one, this B, and look at this B. Notice this one has an apostrophe, meaning that the one without the apostrophe is the original. And so the purple figure became the green one. So what transformation is that? So in the chat box, if you can, go ahead and answer that question. So what transformation is that? Is it dilation, translation, rotation, or reflection? Good. So it is dilation, and that's because the shape goes from being small and it gets larger. So it is dilation. So now let's look at question 2. Find the area for the shaded shape. So we're going to find the area for this full shape. Remember, area is length times width. That is length. This is width. We're going to go 5 times 5. And that gives us 25. Now we need to find the area of this inner rectangle. So that's going to be 3 times 2. And that gives us 6. And because they want the shaded shape, we only want this area. We're going to take this amount and we're going to subtract that from it. And that leaves us what's left, which is the area in blue. So we're going to go 25 minus 6, and that gives us 19. And that is our area. All right. Let's look at our problem for the day, our word problem for today. So in triangle ABC, so notice this is triangle ABC. AD is 10 centimeters. So from A to D, it's 10 centimeters. The length of CD is half the length of AD. Do you know what half of that is? And if you do, go ahead and type that into the chat box. If not, type no. So it says the length of CD is half the length of AD. So what's half of this? Okay, what is it? If you can type in the number. So what's half of those 10 centimeters from A to D? Okay, so when you have 10 centimeters, you are going to divide by 2. But let's think about what two numbers, when added together, make 10 and half of 10. So if you have 10 chocolates and I take away half of them, that would be 5 centimeters. And then it says the length of BD, so you see this BD, is twice the length of AD. So we know that this part from B to D, that's going to be 2 times this number. And I know that 2 times 10, because it's twice the length, is 20 centimeters. So then it's asking you, what is the area of the triangle ABC? We know what this 2 equals to. These 2, if we add them together, that's 25 centimeters. So we know that, oh, that's a fail right there. We know that for this triangle right here, triangle A, B, C, we know that this distance is 25 centimeters. And we know that this is 10 centimeters. So this is going to be called our height. We know how tall it is. And this is our base, but we need to know the formula in order to even know how to find the area of a triangle. So that's something that we're going to learn about today. So what is a triangle? All triangles are related to rectangles or parallelograms. So you can draw a diagonal line in any rectangle or parallelogram, and each triangle or parallelogram, oh, I'm having trouble with that word this morning, is made up of 2 triangles. So notice if you have a rectangle or a parallelogram, you split it in half diagonally, meaning sideways like this, tilted, not like this, not like this. It has to be sided like that. So diagonal, it leaves you with 2 triangles. Notice this is a triangle, this is a triangle. That's a triangle, this is a triangle. Now, area of a triangle, in order to find, well, the area formula for a rectangle or parallelogram is base times height. Another thing we call it length times width, right? Remember, for area, we find length times width. You can also call this the base and that the height, right? Like the base of something and then the height of something. So in order to find the rectangle area, you would do base times height. Each triangle is half of that amount. So notice that there are 2 triangles in these shapes. So we want to find half of base times height. So the formula for finding the area of a rectangle or parallelogram is A is equal to BH, and that each rectangle or parallelogram has 2 triangles in your shape. So we're going to create a formula. Our formula is going to be, and this is something important for you to write down, is that to find the area of a triangle, you need to find half base times height. So area, right, area is equal to half base times height. Another way to write it, so sometimes you might see it written like this, it means the same thing. You might see it as area is equal to base times height divided by 2. It is the same thing as if you have this. So now the height can be found in 3 different places in a triangle. The height can be written like this, so notice it's inside the triangle. And then if you look at our word problem that we were looking at, notice that this one is inside the triangle. So your height might be inside the triangle. So how tall it is what it means by height, right? The height can be on the outside of the triangle. Notice here they have it on the outside, how tall it is. Or the height can be the side of the triangle. So on this triangle, they have it on this side. Now for these images, what we're gonna go ahead and do is we're gonna find the base and the height. So right away, I see that the height in this one is inside. So this is our height. And this is our base. So our base is 10 centimeters and our height is 9 centimeters. Looking at this inside of it is my height. So that's my base. So my base is 12.1 meters. My height is 6.4 meters. And for our last one, oops, I already showed you the answer, but we know that our height is on the inside. So that's that. And this is our base. So our base is 7 yards, our height is 4 yards. So let's find the area of the triangle shown below. Okay, so we're gonna take, first of all, let's figure out what our base is and what our height is. So we look at this, we looked at our height, so how tall it is that. It's supposed to be a cursive H. And this is our base. Remember that our formula is area is equal to half base times height. So I'm going to take area is equal to half. What's my base? 15.6. What's my height? 11.25. Now I'm going to leave the half alone for now. Now I'm going to go ahead and multiply these two. So I'm going to take the calculator. And I'm going to multiply 15.6 times 11.25, and that gives me 175.5. So now, I'm not sure if you remember how to solve when multiplying fractions. So there's two ways to do this. You can either just, probably the easiest way would be we just divide by 2, this number by 2, because 175.5 times 1 is, if we do this first, we multiply these, that's going to be 175.5 over 2, and we plug that into our calculator, and that gives us 87.75. Now, even easier than this would probably be using our other formula. Remember I said this is the same thing, base times height over 2? Because then you can take the base, you can take the height, and you can just divide that by 2. And that gives you, we know that the top part, it's 175.2 over 2. And that gives us the same answer. It's just an addition, or one step less. Because notice this is 1 step, 2, 3, 4. Well, this one's only about 3. So let's get used to using this as our formula. Area is equal to base times height over 2, or divided by 2. So we're gonna find the area of a triangle. I'm gonna do 1 and 2 with you. And actually, I'll do 1 and 3 with you. And then I'll have you do 2 and 4. So for question number 1, if this is our height, remember it's inside, it's that dotted line. This is my base. I'm gonna go area is equal to base times height over 2. So I go, what's my base? It's 15. What's my height? It's 12, and I put it all over 2. So I go and I multiply 15 times 12. That gives me 180, again divided by 2. And then I go 180 divided by 2, and that gives me 90. Now, let me make sure to include the units. It's centimeters, and remember, anything with area is centimeters squared. That is my final answer. Let's look at question number 3. So I know this is my height. I know this is my base. So again, I go area is equal to base times height over 2. My base is 10. My height is 9, and I divide that by 2. 10 times 9 is 90. Divide that by 2. And that's equal to 45. Take the unit, centimeters squared. So I want to give you about 2 minutes to try question number 2. So I'll check in at 9:25. Try to have an answer in the chat box. All right, so if you got a chance to practice this one, we have A is equal to A for area, base times height divided by 2. And because the area of a rectangle is base times height, and this is half of a rectangle. So I'm going to take my base and my height, multiply those together and by each other. So 63 times 13.5, divide that by 2. I'm going to take my calculator, and that's going to give me, so I'm typing in 63 times 13.5. That gives me 850.5, but I'm going to go ahead and divide that by 2. And my answer gave me about 425.25. And then I take the units, millimeters, and I square it because it's an area. So let's see how that matched up. Good, really good. And then you added the units as well. Excellent. You got the right answer, okay? And you would do the same thing for question number 4. We don't have enough time to go over it, but you would do the same thing. You would go base times height, area is equal to 4 times 7 over 2. That's 28 over 2. And the answer would give you 14 yards. Ooh, that's supposed to say 14, not 114. 14 yards squared. Looking back at this problem, if you remember, this was 20, this was 5. We added it together, that's 25 centimeters. So now we're able to find the area for the whole triangle. So that would give us A is equal to, oops, that's not for this class, but A is equal to base times height over 2. You would go 25 times 10 over 2. That's 250 over 2. And then that, I know that is 125. And I take the units, that would be centimeters squared, okay? So make sure to complete your do now. Make sure you do your exit ticket. And this part's super important. Do your CFA. And then remember to finish your homework and do now for next week's class. And if you have any questions, attend office hours Wednesdays and Fridays from 2 to 3 p.m.